want you to be hopeful. I want you to panic. These are the words that were spoken by Greta Thunberg, who is one of the youngest and most influential climate change activists. Now, she said this not to invoke anxiety in us, but to make us see and realize that if we don't panic around this issue, we're going to lose our lives, we're going to lose our livelihood, and we're going to lose our planet. My name is Murugi Ndongo, and I am here to propose a motion that states that this House regrets the glamorization of the fight against climate change. In my speech, I will tell you what glamorization means. I will show you who is glamorizing this fight, and I will tell you why we as a government are rejecting this. All right? Now, what is glamorization? Glamorization basically means to make something look attractive, and in this sense, to create a fuss around it. All right? Now, who are the people doing it? We have governmental and non-governmental organizations. For example, in the government, we have governments holding and hosting conferences and campaigns around climate change. That is one way they're glamorizing it. It's a way of creating awareness, but in our opinion, it is just too far-fetched. Why are they doing it? Like I said, to create awareness, which is a valid agenda, but the only reason my government is against this, it's because it takes away, it is ineffective on its own, right? Now, I will tell you why we as a government are regretting the glamorization of the fight against climate change. I will talk about a few things. First, expense. It is very expensive to host the conferences and the campaigns that they're hosting. For example, just this year, Kenya hosted 3 international conferences around climate change. The budget was 500 million. 500 million Kenya shillings that would have gone to other things, that would have gone to the actual fight against climate change. Instead of that, they actually hosted people and had people coming in to the country just to sign papers and to talk about this and discuss it. This is too expensive, and it is not a price we can bear at the moment. Now, another reason why my government is against and regrets the glamorization of the fight against climate change is because it takes away the essence of the fight. It makes a mockery of the fight. People have been fighting, people have been almost losing their lives. People have been protesting to the point of almost losing their lives. Yet, we have organizations and companies that come in and say that if we have billboards, if we have TikTok challenges, if we had social media challenges that make us, that spread awareness, we're going to do better. It just waters down and makes a mockery of the work that these other vehement activists are doing. It also creates ecocide. Ecocide is basically environmental degradation. Taking flights all the way from, say, Copenhagen to Kenya just to talk about these things and discuss paper on its own leads to the emission of carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide is emitted when jet fuel is burnt, and carbon dioxide is a greenhouse gas. Greenhouse gases is one of the biggest causes of global warming, which just on its own just leads to climate change. Therefore, them coming all the way to sign agreements that are going to help us fight against climate change is counterintuitive because they're causing it by them just coming here. Finally, as a government, we believe that glamorizing this fight against climate change takes attention and money away from other issues that, if addressed, would help us deal with climate change. For example, poverty. Now, if we talk about Kirinyaga County, most of the people who live there are very poor. Most of the people who live there depend on trees for their food, they depend on trees for timber to build their houses, they depend on trees to make money because they cut the firewood and sell it. Now, if we take the money and we invest it in these people, invest it in teaching them alternative sources of creating income, we invest it in teaching them other ways of cooking that don't necessarily use firewood, we will help them first overcome poverty, and at the same time, we will help our own fight against climate change. That way we are solving 2 birds with 1 stone. Instead of taking all our attention into making this fight against climate change all fussy, all glamorized, and all attractive, we can just take it back to the basics and do what we necessarily need to do. Thank you.
We love the earth, it is our planet. We love the earth, it is our home. Now, this is a song from a famous musician known as Lil Dicky, who was actually championing for the fight against climate change. Now, that brings us to the motion today. The motion today is this House regrets the glamorization of the fight against climate change. From his music, he was actually glamorizing the fight against climate change, and this song has over 1 million views on YouTube. So you can already see the impact it has on the society because people are actually listening to it. Now, because he's championing for the fight against climate change, what are the detriments that climate change brings to the table? Why is it a matter which holds a lot of weight? It's because climate change causes global warming, and global warming can cause food shortage. It can also cause drought, and food shortage would actually lead to the people suffering at the end of the day. Now, I'll move forward and explain to you why it is necessary to actually glamorize the fight against climate change. My first argument will be that there is global unawareness. In as much as we have people knowing that climate change exists, we do not understand in details what climate change is. So there's a need for us to glamorize it and actually move a step further of us actually telling the people what it is, and that will be achieved through glamorization. The second thing is there's a need to target all people without leaving out the others. Now, when you glamorize something and beautify it and make it a big deal, many people will actually receive the information. The target will be met. The target here can be the youth, and the youth can actually be met by use of social media, which I'll get to that as I expand on my points. And the third necessity as to why glamorization is important is the need for subjective education. Because we have different people living in different societies, there is need for them to have education which relates to their society as it is. Now, because this house, the government has already regretted, I'm showing you the positive impacts that have come out of the glamorization of the fight against climate change. The first point is it has created awareness, the creation of awareness. Now, how will I approach awareness? Awareness in this case would mean that, for example, you see, before we came to know about climate change, before we came to understand what climate change is, it actually arose from the Western countries, and from their glamorization, from them actually going big with it, it made us know what climate change is. That explains why we are here right now debating about climate change. That explains why Kenya, for example, is championing for climate change. The second issue would be it has already had influence on the society. The glamorization has brought about influence on the society. How has it achieved this? When you glamorize, our glamorization in our world looks like glamorization through social media networks. For example, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, using hashtags such as World Climate Change Awareness Month, which is September every year, that has enabled influence on the society, and it has actually affected the behavior of the people in the society. The attractive bit of actually glamorizing it has created the influence. The third point, and which is the final one, is the adaptation. The glamorization has brought about adaptation of the climate change measures. For example, we are seeing people adapting to use of solar panels, which are alternative energy measures. We are seeing people going to workshops and debates such as this so as to actually inform people on climate change. We have already seen that there is existence of jurisprudence on climate change. For example, natural justice champions for going to court and actually suing for an industry near you which is actually causing climate change. You can actually go to court and actually challenge some of these things. So we are already seeing that it is happening. The glamorization has actually had an impact in our society, and that is what will help us to continue and fight against climate change as a society. Thank you.